have now tuned into Insight Sundays, the show that brings you relevant news, youth topics with a new mission and focus for our communities. Here is your host, Adrian Mickens.
What's going on, Indianapolis? Welcome to another edition of Insight Sundays right here on AM 1310, The Light, presented by Harambe Productions. As always, we have to give a shout out to all of our sponsors, which are Andrew J. Brown Academy, Indiana Christian Leadership Conference, or ICLC, Buttons and Bows Hair Salon, Bethesda Temple Southeast Campus, New Vision Lighthouse Ministries, Hair Artistry Indy, Inner Beauty Program Incorporated, New Breed of Youth, Lighthouse Academy Charter School South, Lighthouse Academy Charter School East, Committee of Elective Benjamin Sheriff for 2018, Sam Ash Music Store, Off the Hook Fish and More, Soul Cycle, and Beach Grove Bible Church. All right, Indianapolis in the house today. We have a dear friend of mine. His name is, well, I call him Brother Payne, but it's Jefri Payne, one of the greatest musicians, one of the greatest broadcasters here in the city of Indianapolis, and probably national. He keeps secrets around, but definitely probably just an all-around good media communications broadcaster that we have in the house today. And he wants to share, his story and his information about how the next generation can succeed and to grow if you have an aspiration to be in the media and communication. So parents, if you're listening, grab your college kids or your high school kids or anybody's in middle school. I know everybody starts early now in media and communications. Get them around to the radio, or as always, we stream live on Facebook. Once again, live on Facebook at Insight Sundays. This will definitely be a show that you guys may want to listen to today. All right, Brother Payne, share your story. What was your path to success?
Wow. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show today. Mm-hmm. And ironically, I didn't major in broadcasting.
All right.
And I majored in music education, where I earned my bachelor's in music education from Indiana University in Bloomington.
Okay.
And I didn't come into the broadcasting thing until about 2002.
Okay.
I was a teacher at Warren Central High School, and I began serving as the public address announcer for Warren Central Sports.
Okay.
So I would announce the football and basketball games. I was the guy on the public address announcer, saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, stand to your feet and hear the Warriors," kind of thing. And so I became fascinated with that. And I transitioned into broadcasting when I became an assistant producer and co-host of Religion in the News on Wish TV Channel 8. In 2008. So I was there for about 4 years and had an outstanding time meeting a lot of people, working in the studio. I was fascinated by the whole lights, camera, action piece. I interviewed about 150 people during that time. And looking back, I wish I had gone to broadcasting school, or at least a minor in communications. And so I would advise any parent that has a child that's somewhat interested in that arena to look at the different opportunities here in town. I'd like to acknowledge Pastor Brian Hudson over at New Covenant Church.
All right.
New Covenant Fellowship Church over on 46 and Keystone, I believe it is. And he has a summer program specifically designed for school-age children to learn about media and communication. They learn video, audio, production, broadcasting, and the like. And so I would recommend that highly.
All right. Let me ask you this follow-up question here. Kind of still on the same field, but this one kind of tethers into journalism itself. Has journalism become a lost art, or is it just taking a turn in a different direction that the older generation just doesn't understand? Because now everybody has access to create their own personal story or their own story for somebody that may be personable to them. And so, we have social media now where you get everybody's writing basically their own newspaper every day. That's really what it is. You're writing your own blog and your newspaper every day. So what do you think about the new journalism of today?
I would say that it's an alternative form of communication. Journalism, in my opinion, will never become a lost art. It's always important for someone to be able to tell a story through writing and accurately accurately painting the picture and setting the scenario for people to read from a neutral standpoint. Today, you have a lot of opinions, and people writing from their personal viewpoint versus, this is what's happening in the news. These events happen. And I think it becomes more sensationalized when you have that opinionated, voice just speaking out from their perspective, and others may gravitate to that voice, whether they be on the radio or the internet and so forth. So as long as they kind of agree with them, but there's no replacement for good old journalism, good old-fashioned writing, creating, painting, and telling the story accurately.
Because see, there used to be a time, obviously I was a child during that time when social media didn't even exist, when it was just one chat room on Windows 98, but if you've seen a story in a newspaper or a blog, it was a time where people used to get together and meet and then share their ideas and opinions. It's one thing to just see a blog message on the internet, but it's one thing to hear it from somebody's mouth and see it from their eyes, and hear their own personal story right then and there. And then, in my opinion, that's when you can make a true analysis on whatever it is that you're trying to write a story on. I mean, we learn that in school, when you write papers and different things like that. It's a small form of journalism. You try to do your best to get as much research, as possible to gather on this person to come up with your own best analysis. But I think that based upon what you said, they need to take the time for anybody who has an aspiration to do journalism. Please just don't read one article. Try to do your best to get it as closest to the source, to that person that you're trying to write upon as possible. Otherwise, you're just writing, false. I'm just going to call it spade. You're writing false information.
Right.
So, or just your opinion on that situation. So try to get as close to that person as you can, maybe a relative, any kind of family member for that matter, or a close friend, and you can get a better analysis on that. Let me ask you this question, too. How long do you think it is before magazines and newspapers become obsolete?
I would give it I'd say 20 years. 20 years, and that's very generous, because electronic media, of course, is so instant, so readily available. I see newspapers kind of struggling to keep the same audience. People would call the house and say, "Would you like to subscribe to the local newspaper?" And I'm like, "Well, I can kind of get it online, But I'd hate to ever downgrade the importance of printed media. I think it's good for our generation and our children to be in touch with that.
But why won't they turn the curve? It's the same thing. The same thing that's going to happen to them is the same thing that happened to Blockbuster in the film industry. You took too long because you were too stubborn not to see what the new generation in time what was going on. And it was too late because Redbox beat you. And now Netflix has kind of beat our Redbox to a degree. But I see the same thing happening with newspaper forms. Like what you said, they're still calling the house and asking, do you want to subscribe? You're going to have to turn the curve. Why won't they turn the curve? Why is it so hard for businesses to turn the curve and to keep it relevant with today's, generation?
I think that's the key word, relevancy. How often are people picking up and fumbling through papers, when we want to have quick access? We can pick up our phones or tablets or our laptops and scroll and find out what it is that we want to see, versus fumbling through other articles and things. I'm an old head too. I went to Blockbuster and the whole Be Kind Rewind.
Yes, I remember. I used to get in trouble for it a lot because I would never rewind it. And I would never bring it back on time.
Right. And so when I recall seeing a friend with a DVD and thinking to myself, well, that's ridiculous. Who'd want to watch that on a disc? Surely VHS is suitable. And and that was like not even, 15 years ago.
Yeah,
and so, but like I said, things change, things evolve, and I think it's a part of our evolution. And so there won't be that great of a need for it, say, in about 20 years, because I'm sure we'll have the technology to access the information on demand.
With today's technology, do you feel that today's generation has a better opportunity to reach out to an audience that they want to with social media more faster than what we've been able to do before? How is it better for them in this day and age with social media, or is it too much, too fast?
Fortunately and unfortunately, the technology and the ability to communicate with the world is in their hands.
Yes.
And so whatever information you put out there, it's going to be heard, whether it's correct or incorrect, good or bad. And that's the dangerous part. It's a great tool, and everyone has access. I saw some very disturbing things online about what kids can do online with video. And it used to be where you had to have an actual website and had to, go through various channels to get your information and your videos out there. And now these kids are doing all kinds of dangerous things and, provocative things online. And, the world is watching. Yes. And what they don't realize is when they go to apply for a job, yes, these stakeholders and these employers look at your background. They're going to check your Facebook, your Instagram, your whatever, your Twitter, and see what kind of things come through. And if it's inconsistent with their expectations and the standards that they're trying to promote, you may miss out on an opportunity, And
I want to clarify something too, and it's nothing bad, but you made a great reference that, the youth does things online that are inappropriate. And, us as, the elder statesmen, we try to let them know that people are watching you, people are doing this, that, the other. So let me explain for the young people who's listening today. You have to understand whether or not you're applying for a job or whether or not you're trying to be an entrepreneur. Even if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, let me tell you something. Every single solitary client that you have is your boss. I'm going to repeat that one more time so you hear me clearly. Every single solitary clientele that you have is your boss, and they're looking at you just like one boss would at one job. They are looking at your social media accounts. They are looking at everything that exists that you say that you are. They're looking at that, and so you have to represent what you say that you are. So don't think because you're an entrepreneur you can just do whatever you want to do. It's still not the same. And don't think because somebody's black or white listen, it doesn't matter. You have to be who you are, and don't sell yourself short on social media because you want to fit in with the in crowd and sell yourself short. Because that was going to be my follow-up question. Why has the black community, why don't they see the power of social media and they degrade themselves online? Like, I don't get it. Fighting this all the time, man. Like, it's crazy.
It's when you don't have marketable skills, when you can't produce goods and services for the public that can be useful, then you rely upon what else can you do? Oh, well, I guess I can fight online. I guess I can take my clothes off. I guess I can, drink. I saw this guy drink a big bottle of Jack Daniels in like a minute. And so he became famous, and the camera kept rolling, and he became violently ill right there, So he did damage to himself. And so I just encourage all young people to acquire marketable skills through speech, communication, written expression, math, sciences, because you are going to need to make a living for yourself. You want to aspire to own your own business, to control your own dollars, your own time, and things like that. And so just to be mindful that everything from this point on, 2017 and beyond, is traceable. And it's documented.
And this whole Snapchat thing, I don't know. I know you got 4 girls, right. And I'm not for sure if all of them use Snapchat or maybe some of the older ones use Snapchat. But it's a form of communication with videos that supposedly disappears after 10 seconds or so, or 30 seconds or so. I'm not a big, heavy Snapchat user. I do have it for the broadcast, but I'm not a heavy Snapchat user. But believe you me, I'm telling everybody who uses Snapchat out there, because I've heard some very interesting stories about Snapchat and the way that young ladies use it. Please don't do that.
Right.
Do not expose yourself on Snapchat, because I'm telling you, it is very easy to download and re-record or save documented information. And once you put it in the cloud, it is in the cloud. I'm going to say that again. When you put it in the cloud, it is in the cloud. So please be careful when you guys are doing that stuff. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to finish up with some follow-up questions here with Mr. Jefri Payne about media and communications and networking to help our young people who have an aspiration to get into this field. Once again, you can catch us live on Facebook at Insight Sundays. Once again, that's live on Facebook at Insight Sundays, Instagram, Snapchat, or Twitter, and we will be right back. Welcome back, Indianapolis, to Insight Sundays right here on AM 1310, The Light. Once again, we're here with Mr. Jefri Payne in the house, and we're discussing media and communications networking. And for all of our young people who are interested in this field, once again, please feel free to tune in with us live on Facebook so you can actually see what's going on and you can get some insight that maybe will help your career and steer you in the right direction. Brother Payne, what are some key tools I'm going to say that one more time. I stepped away from the mic. What are some key tools to make sure that people get an opportunity to create a great brand name and career for themselves?
Wow, the word brand is so essential, as we were talking about social media earlier, because your brand is what you put out there. It's how people identify you. So you want to put forth a positive presentation about yourself and the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you interact with other people. That's very important. Establish good relationships with your teachers and other adults with respect, saying yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. You will find yourself going a lot farther in life and getting more help from people who have the power, authority, and the resources and the ability to help you get to your next level. And so establishing the positive relationship with adults is very important. At our school, I teach at Winding Ridge School of Inquiry and Performing Arts in Lawrence Township. And every Friday we do an in-house TV broadcast for our morning announcements.
Really cool.
And so it provides young people the opportunity to come and learn how to read scripts, how to work on air, to be in front of and behind the cameras, how to work the technology behind the scenes, and so forth. So getting an opportunity like that at your school, if they have broadcasting, or even just doing the announcements over the public addresses system at your school. So ask about that. Go online and maybe print off some scripts. You can find scripts from TV or, other transcripts and just practice reading them in the mirror, visiting local TV stations and things like that.
Absolutely. No, that's very true. 100%. Let me ask you this question here for all of our young college students who are interested in journalism and communications. At that level, what is it may be kind of a piggyback question on what I just asked, but at that level, when it's really serious, they're just getting out of college, 24, 25, and they're looking to get into that field of communications. And you and I both know that it's not as easy as what they portray it to be, per se. The work is fun, but to get into the work, you have to climb the ladder. So what would you say to them on the road to success for all of our college students?
One, do complete your degree program in broadcasting and communications. I know they have several broadcasting fairs here in town. Annually, they'll have like a broadcasters expo. And so look out for those. Have your resume ready. Have a demo reel, whether it be online, some type of electronic package for that. And keep your options open. If there is an opening at a local TV or radio station, and it may not be on-air work. You may be serving, in another department within the radio station or the TV station. Go in and get your foot in the door.
Yes.
I have a great friend named Faith James, who she had always aspired to do media, and she was hungry for it. And she had her own radio station that she would broadcast out of her house at one point. And then she went to Greenwood and would broadcast there. And she became a part of the team when I was at Religion in the News at Wish TV Channel 8. And she was so hungry for it. She would, dress up and she would bring her guests in. She would interview them. And it was a volunteer position. It wasn't a paid position. But she stayed with it. And when an opportunity came available for her to work in one of the offices at Wish, she got her foot in the door. And it was just one of the greatest breaks for her. So, again, keeping your options open and not limiting yourself to saying, well, if I can't be an on-air personality, then I don't want to do it at all. That's the wrong attitude to have. So just get your foot in the door.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you said that. And I'm going to piggyback on something that you said before, and that was with networking and creating a good network with the right people. Small story for myself. Same thing here with the Radio 1 family. And I call him my sensei. He's probably listening right now. But DJ Smooth from our sister station, WTLC. He was the one who found me at 19 years of age, took me in, brought me in to the Radio 1 family, introduced me, took me to gigs, took me to events and different things like that. and really showed me the ropes, but he taught me the correct way. And if I would ever have to learn it again, I would do it the exact same way that I learned it specifically from him. And again, he introduced me to all the right people. But much like what we had said previously a couple of questions ago that I had asked you, and what I'm trying to get the young people to understand, you have to be patient. And you have to make sure that you create a brand for yourself, because when the right person comes along, he actually met me at the skating rink, and I was a DJ there, not doing too much, making probably like $7.20, literally minimum. No, I think minimum wage in like 2005 was like $5.25. Wow, $5.25 an hour, a DJing. But again, I presented myself as though as I wanted to be in this industry, and I would do anything that I could within reason to be in this industry and to work hard for it. No matter what he threw my way, having me, if I had to set up and tear down, that was my job, setting up and tear down for years. And that's a lost art that I think so many people who are interested in this industry loses sight of, is that you have to learn the behind the scenes work before you can be in the forefront if you want to run your own company like Oprah. Now she owns our whole entire network. But if Oprah needed to get something done, I'm pretty sure she knows the production side of it, the scripting side of it, the journalism side of it, all sides of it. Learn the whole entire craft so that you can be the best in what you want to do. And you'll be able to go so far with it. Next question. I know we live in a time now and an era where we have this little phrase going around called fake news going on. What can we do to try to get our young people to understand, not necessarily what fake news is, because fake news, quote unquote, is another person's opinion. So how can we get them to truly understand what is the truth, what is someone's opinion, and what is the actual truth?
Understanding that a news story, as it happens, how it affects people, what's the origin of it, going back to the origin of some of these events that take place. Usually when you hear the term fake news, it's coming from somebody who doesn't want you to pay attention, or wants you to, kind of invalidate, if that's a word, that source. And so basically fake news is news that people don't want to hear per se. However, I guess the pure term of it is false news if it's inaccurate, incomplete, and biased. And so students really want to be mindful of getting the whole truth, the source, the origin, making sure, like you said earlier, doing your resources or your research and getting multiple sources for that information.
All right. Well, I guess as a last follow-up question here, where can people get in contact with you to learn about your brand and your product and different things that you do within the community? I know you're a phenomenal one of the greatest jazz musicians here in the city, and he's actually playing at my wedding on August 26th.
A little plug.
By request of the bride, but he'll definitely be playing there too as well. But as a whole, with your broadcasting and stuff like that, where can everybody find or just reach out to you if they want to ask you any questions?
You can find me on Facebook. I am a Facebook junkie. I hate to admit it, but I love being in touch with people. I use Facebook just as much for networking as I do for just finding out about friends and family and things like that. So if you go into Facebook and look at Jefri Clark Payne, and it's spelled Jefri. Again, that's Jefri, Clark Payne. And you'll see me, and you'll see things about my family and my music and things like that. So I just really appreciate sharing, my experience with anybody who wants to learn.
All right. Well, once again, Indianapolis, we appreciate everybody for tuning in, whether you was in the car, the house, or whether you was watching us live on Facebook or any other social media outlet, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat, where you can always find Insight Sundays. Once again, we appreciate it, and we will check you guys out next week.